A report was published today examining the failure of an NHS trust to stop a rogue surgeon at Solihull Hospital. He carried out botched mastectomies despite his colleagues raising concerns about him.
Ian Paterson was eventually dismissed in 2011, but other doctors and nurses were questioning his competence long before that. Today, the report's author said the themes it raises, dysfunctional organisation, failures of communication and lack of openness, are becoming depressingly familiar within the NHS.
Linda Johnson was given a mastectomy in 2006 by a surgeon she thought of then as her hero. But 4 years later, she was called back to Solihull Hospital for further tests and more surgery because Ian Paterson had, deliberately, left some breast tissue behind.
I was absolutely, dare I say, gobsmacked. That's the only way I was just sat there in an absolute daze. You know, it's bad enough being told you've got breast cancer and then told in 2010, you know, it's up to you, you can have the rest taken away. And I was just absolute daze. I walked out of the hospital thinking, you know, what's this man done to me?
What he had done was what he called a cleavage-saving mastectomy, without consent and against clinical guidelines. He'd been doing them for years, and a report into the scandal published today confirmed his bosses knew, but didn't stop him. Linda Johnson is one of more than 1,000 women who were operated on by Ian Paterson from 1998. All of them had to be recalled for further tests. 237 of those were told their cancer had returned. A tragic story, according to the man who wrote today's report, with lessons, he says, for the whole of the NHS.
How many times have we heard stories about that sort of thing, patients being let down? It's a depressingly familiar theme in an NHS which by and large works very well. We keep having scandal after scandal, and it does have to do with the culture of the organisation.
Investigations by and on behalf of the Trust in 2003, 2004 and 2007 raised questions about Paterson, but throughout that time he continued to operate and continued to place women at risk.
They knew about him. Why didn't they stop him? In 2003 they knew. I was 2006, and then I was recalled, say, 2010, and he was still carrying out the operation in 2011. So I felt really and truly let down and actually treated as if I'm not a person.
The chief executive resigned in 2010. His successor had this to say to Ian Paterson's patients today.
The first thing I'd like to offer is my deep apologies to all those patients and their families who've been affected by this. And that's for two reasons. Firstly, patients were harmed by Mr. Paterson himself carrying out an unauthorised operation. And secondly, by the delay in acting on behalf of the previous trust management team.
More respect for patients is one of the 74 recommendations in this report, which calls this a story of weak and indecisive leadership, of secrecy and containment. Callum, Watkinson, ITV News, Solihull.